Arlen is the timer for all the speakers in the room. He is ruthless. He will cut you off.
I made it under.
So when you see wrap up, that's your 1 minute warning, and go for it. So there are pens and stickers at the back as well from RL Solutions, our tonight's financial sponsors. Please take those. I don't want them in my house anymore. And at the end of the pizza, there is actually brownies. I don't know if that was mentioned. So there's actually brownies back there. So if you want dessert, it's all yours. So, yep. Yes.
Yeah, and as speakers are switching up, feel free to just walk to the back and help us out.
As you'll ever be?
As I'll ever be.
Cool. All right. So talking about our second speaker tonight, Mike Johnson, he's going to talk about Azure Advisor. So let's welcome Mike.
So this has nothing to do with code. In our organization, we started having every developer, suddenly everyone had a DevOps operation. So everyone had to be responsible for deploying. And what we did was we turned everybody loose on our EA agreement with Azure, and the chaos started. So I wanted to share some learnings we had about the Azure Advisor. So again, I'm Mike Johnson. I'm CTO at Lake Software in Waterloo. Here's my contact information if that was ever important to anybody. And so I wanted to talk about the Azure Advisor and what it does. The Azure Advisor was a Microsoft opportunity to allow people to be recommended about what are their best practices for how they're using the Azure resources. It's based on your usage and your config, so it's not some of these other advisory tools that Microsoft has put out through the years that said, oh, hey, we're going to make your access engine so much faster, but then it's like, but we don't use this, so it's not helpful. And the best part about the Azure Advisor is, as long as you're paying for your Azure subscription, it is free, so it is quite neat. So how can the Azure Advisor help me? It has Advisor for high availability, for security, performance, and cost. And if you're really new or having the first time you're doing a DevOps operation, it'll take you from a noob to a pro and prevent you from doing some of the dumbest things you can possibly do with Azure. So let's go in and see what we can do with high availability. So some of the things that its advisor will do when you turn it on is it will tell you about your VM fault tolerance. So first time we turned this on, we said, hey, we're going to have a VM for handling our database SQL server. Well, next thing we know, there was an outage in San Antonio, and our database went completely dead because we didn't have a fault tolerance setup. So if you need that, this will just save you from having to go down and get a call late or be advised that something bad has happened. It will advise you about things such as premium storage. So if you're using just the standard disks, that's great. But if you need high performance, it'll say, hey, look at this, you're doing a lot of I/O, get this. And the other thing is it'll turn on and say, hey, you haven't done a backup of your VM. You know, if this goes bad, you're going to really lose a lot of data and it's going to be a bad day. So this is the kind of thing that it will do for high availability. Now this is my favorite because I'm not an expert on security whatsoever. I'm kind of a C#y guy. So what this will tell is it'll go through and look at your advice and say, I need a firewall. Do you have security groups? Do you have threat detection put on? Do you have encryption? All of these things that maybe somebody else in your organization used to handle, or maybe you're supposed to be that guy or girl. And so this security advisor just walks through all your VMs, all your services, and says, hey, did you know you need to do these things? And then there is the performance advisor. So it will tell you if you're using SQL DB, it will go through and it'll analyze your storage, your indexes, and it'll say, hey, we've noticed based on your usage that you could get a better performance out of your SQL. Just out of the box, it'll just say, hey, do you want to turn this on? You just click the buttons, and it goes on. If you're using Redis, it has similar opportunities, and for the app service, it also has similar opportunities. And then my personal favorite, because this is about cost, we've had different VMs that have come up, and we forgot about them. Now, I know that's hard to believe when the meter's running, but it does happen. So what it will do is it can identify if you've got a comatose machine. Right now, if you're using VMware on-prem, nobody cares about it if it's running 16 cores and nobody uses it. Well, when you're paying for this, you kind of want to know about it. The other thing it will do now on a cost basis is it will advise you about elastic pools. Now, where we use this is if you have a lot of SQL Azure databases for microservices, because you've got one for every kind of individual schema, this will go out and say, well, you're trying to guarantee a certain amount of I/O across all of these instances, but what will happen is it'll say, well, you're paying way too much for this, and you could actually pull these together in one big basket and get the optimal performance based on your usage. So I think that's kind of neat. So how do I get it? So when you sign into the portal, if you're not a PowerShell person, at the very bottom on the left, you'll see right beneath the support, there's a little advisor button. You just click it. And then what it will start doing is it will start examining your various subscriptions. You turn it on and it'll say, go get this. And then it'll just have all these check boxes. Have I had 10 minutes?
10 minutes left.
10 minutes left?
Yes.
I thought I only had 10 minutes.
No, you're 15.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Tell us more.
We're going to be at break really quickly. Oh, I was under the impression we had 10 minutes only. So anyway, the UI pops up and it tells you all the different things that it's done. So that's what you'll find it this week. You come in and next week it'll tell you, hey, there's a bunch of new things. As Microsoft rolls out its tooling, it makes it smarter and smarter. Like originally it was just the cost piece. Then there was the security piece popped up when I was first using it. Then the high availability came online. And so just each time they're trying to expand this, you'll get more feedback and you can tune your operations. Or you've stood up new services. This will pop up and say, hey, did you remember to do this, 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 and this, and this? So it's really, really handy. So in summary, since this is going to be a really quick time, it is for you and it's based on you. So it's not based on some aggregate or some corporate user, or it's taking your information, your usage patterns, your whatever services you've got stood up, and where it can help you, it will give you the advice. And the performance really does matter, because if you don't have good disks, you're not going to get the best performance. So when you get a big flood and you're the new rock stars on the group and you got featured on TechCrunch, this is going to help you, right? If you didn't back up, well, bad things will happen to you that way. And then ultimately, everybody has a DevOps experience today. There is not a person that I haven't met who is suddenly being asked to turn on Docker, turn on SQL databases. They don't want to hand over things to the operations group. We don't even have one in my work. So we're responsible for going from code through test to deploy. And I would prefer to be the best person I possibly could and bring the best service that I can put out, because I'm ultimately going to be the guy who's going to get called at 3 in the morning to fix it. So this is why I think you should use it. So thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, I guess we've got, a bunch of minutes.
I have a question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
So in your experience, does Azure recommend the cheapest option or the best option? Or both?
I think, well, on the cost savings, it's really right now advising you when you have something that's dead. It's almost like, because it's less than 5% CPU over like 4 days.
Okay.
And the network traffic has to be less than 7 megabytes over 7 days. So it's almost like you stood up a machine and you forgot about it. So in that way, the cost savings is just great for you. Like, we probably stand up about 1,500 VMs a day, on a given day. And we'll stand them up, we'll run our forecast for the weather, and then we'll turn them on. But we had some special things going on over the spring, and we forgot about stuff. And, at $5.20 for a big VM, that's real money over a month's time. You could get this big bill, and Bill drives out to your house and hand delivers that bill. Here you go. So, in that sense, the cost savings isn't that helpful. I mean, it's not like what it will be eventually. Like, I've talked to people who said, no, we're going to come in and start advising you on how to downsize or how to upsize. Because what they're looking at is, in their physical fleet, people are holding on to assets much longer than they need to. So they're trying to make it so that you don't have noisy neighbors, or you can get at the machine you want. Because, like, for us, when we're trying to get GPUs, it's bad news. We can't.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to steal from different data centers to get access. And so when people are holding on to those resources, they're trying to let go. And it's useful.
Do you know it makes a difference between a business or individual developer? I mean, like individual developer, they give you like 250 free hours, but
Yeah.
if you want to learn Azure, you need more than 250 hours. Yeah.
If you want to learn the whole Azure, which I don't think anybody possibly can, I don't even think Redshirt 1 has it at this point in his head, what's all out there, or Rosinovich. So I think what you will see, though, is if you're turning off and you're using some of the best practices you've heard while we're here at the group, you will see those things to say, yeah, we're turning this stuff off. But when you've got a very large organization or you've got a lot of microservices stood up, you just can't keep track of it all. And so I like being told, hey, this is better, or you can get better performance by pooling things together and not pay as much. So the SQL Azure is probably the best one from cost size. And if you're using it, and now that they've gone to this elastic DTU thing, you're going to get the best bang for your buck out of that. So, yeah.
Any other questions for Mike? Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Sorry, that was
It was a neat environment because it created programming.